All right, so we've got a ton of info here on Cello World Ltd. Financial statements, an investor presentation, even a board meeting outcome announcement. Looks like someone wants a serious deep dive on this company. And you know what? They're worth it. I mean, Cello World's a pretty big deal in the Indian consumer goods market. We're talking about the folks behind those Cello kitchen containers you probably have in your fridge, or those Uno Max pens your kids are using for school.
Yeah, definitely a household name across India. And their reach goes way beyond just a couple of product categories.
Okay, so we're looking at Cello World's Q2 FY25 financials, but what's the big deal? What can these numbers tell us?
Well, think about it. Maybe you're considering investing in Cello World. Maybe you're thinking of working with them. Or maybe you're just curious about how businesses succeed in a tough market. Either way, these financial results give us a glimpse behind the scenes. They show us how Cello World is growing, how financially healthy they are, and what their potential looks like for the future.
Okay, so let's break it down. Big picture first. Looks like Cello World's doing pretty well overall. Steady revenue growth, and they stayed profitable in the first half of FY25. That's pretty impressive considering the current economic situation.
Yeah, you're right. But when you look closer, there are some interesting details. The chairman's statement in the investor presentation mentioned some headwinds. Specifically, they're seeing weaker export demand for their writing instruments. That's something they're going to have to figure out.
So it's not all sunshine and roses then.
Well, not exactly. But even with those export challenges, Cello World's diverse product portfolio is actually working in their favor. Their consumerist segment, remember those kitchen containers? That grew by a solid 5%.
And on top of that, their molded furniture business is up 7% year on year.
Right, so while their writing instruments business took a hit, decreased by 8%, mostly because of those lower exports, other parts of the company are picking up the slack. Really shows the value of having that strategic diversification.
Yeah, it's like they've got multiple engines powering the business. If one starts to sputter, the others can keep things moving forward.
Great analogy. And it's also worth mentioning that even with these challenges, Cello World is really good at generating cash. They're laser focused on running a tight ship operational excellence, they call it. So they can handle these bumps in the road and still have resources to invest in their future.
That's got to be reassuring for anyone thinking about them as an investment or a partner, a company that can consistently generate cash, especially in uncertain times. That's a company that knows what it's doing.
Couldn't agree more. Now let's take a look at those financial statements. A few key numbers really jump out. First, their revenue for Q2 of FY25 was slightly up compared to the same period last year, but for the first half of the year as a whole, revenue jumped by a more noticeable 3.1%.
So they're on an upward trajectory. Always a good sign.
For sure. But it's not just about revenue growth.
Right.
We also need to consider profitability. And their gross profit margins, well, those dipped a bit, which is something to keep an eye on. Basically, it means it's costing them a little more to produce and sell their products.
Do you think that could be because of those rising input costs everyone's been talking about?
It's definitely possible.
Oh.
However, their EBITDA, that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It gives us a clearer picture of their operating profitability. And their PT margins, that's profit after tax, those stayed relatively stable. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but there are some positive signs.
Okay, so taking all this into account, what does it tell us about Cello World's overall financial health? More importantly, what does it say about their potential for growth over the next few years?
Well, one really encouraging indicator is their low debt level. That gives them a lot of flexibility to make future investments and expand their operations without being weighed down by huge interest payments. They also have a lot of cash on hand, which is always a good sign of financial stability.
It's like having a healthy savings account, right? Gives them a cushion and the ability to jump on opportunities as they come up.
Precisely. And they're clearly not afraid to seize those opportunities. Remember that qualified institutional placement they recently completed, the QIP. They raised a significant amount of capital from institutional investors. That's a big vote of confidence in their future.
It sounds like they've got the financial resources, they're generating cash, and investors believe in them. That's a pretty solid foundation for growth, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're not just sitting around either. Cello World has been actively investing in both expanding their existing facilities and building new ones, which tells me they believe in their future growth prospects.
Yeah, they're not just playing it safe, they're aiming for something bigger.
Exactly. But to really understand their growth strategy, we need to go beyond just the numbers. We need to dive into the specific moves they're making in the market.
Okay, let's do it. Let's see how Cello World is setting themselves up for success. So they've definitely got the financial firepower, but what about the strategy? How are they planning to stand out in such a crowded market like Indian consumer goods?
Well, one thing that jumps out from the investor presentation is their focus on alternative sales channels. They're really pushing online and modern trade, not just sticking with those traditional brick-and-mortar stores.
Makes sense. The Indian e-commerce market is booming. More and more people are choosing the convenience of online shopping.
Exactly. And Cello World's positioning themselves to ride that wave. Smart move, considering how much e-commerce is expected to grow in India.
So they're going where the customers are. But are they just trying to sell the same old products online? Or are they actually innovating as well?
Oh, they're definitely innovating. Those big investments they're making in research and development, R&D, that shows they're serious about it.
Okay, but what kind of innovation are we talking about? Reinventing the wheel or just making small improvements?
I'd say it's a mix of both. They're refining their existing products, making them more efficient, more sustainable, and more appealing to today's consumers. But they're also exploring entirely new product categories. And that's where their brand new glassware manufacturing facility comes in.
Right, the glassware gambit. This seems like a pretty big deal. Why is Cello World so focused on glassware?
Well, there are a few reasons. First, it allows them to diversify their product portfolio even more. They can tap into a market with huge growth potential. And second, it gives them a real competitive edge. The investor presentation actually points out that Cello World is now the only one Indian company that has a presence across all major material types and also has its OWN glassware production capacity. That's a powerful position to be in.
So they're not just playing the game, they're changing the rules.
Exactly. They're aiming for market dominance. And this glassware facility is a key piece of that puzzle. It gives them control over the entire production process, from raw materials to the finished product, which can lead to greater efficiency and cost savings.
And potentially higher profit margins, which investors always love.
You got it. Now, while all this sounds super promising, it's important to remember that no business operates in a vacuum. Cello World definitely faces challenges.
Right. What kind of roadblocks might they hit on their path to success?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the Indian consumer market is incredibly competitive. They're up against a ton of domestic and international brands, all fighting for the same customers.
It's a battle royale out there.
For sure. Cello World needs to constantly innovate, not just with their products, but also with their marketing and distribution. They want to stay ahead of the pack. They also need to be careful about those rising input costs. Could really squeeze their profit margins if they're not careful.
And we can't forget about those supply chain issues that have been causing problems for businesses all over the world.
Ah, yes, the supply chain woes. The pandemic really messed things up, and those effects are still lingering. Cello World will need to navigate those challenges strategically to make sure they can get their products to consumers efficiently and cost-effectively.
Okay, so let's recap. They've got the financial strength, a clear strategic vision, and a new facility that gives them a unique advantage. But they're also facing some serious competition and external pressures that could throw a wrench in their plans.
Exactly. It's a dynamic situation. And whether they succeed or not really comes down to their ability to adapt and overcome those challenges.
You know, you mentioned that no business operates in a vacuum, and that made me think about their commitment to sustainability. It's a big part of their investor presentation. But is this just a PR move, or are they really walking the walk?
From what we've seen, it seems like more than just lip service. They're really focused on energy efficiency in their manufacturing, reducing waste sourcing materials responsibly, even switching to more sustainable packaging. Those are real concrete steps that show they're serious about reducing their environmental impact.
That's great. But is sustainability enough to win over consumers in a market like India, where price is so important?
It's definitely becoming a bigger factor for consumers,
Mm.
especially younger generations. And for Cello World, it could actually give them a competitive advantage.
Really? How so?
Well, imagine you're at the store. You see two products side by side, similar price, similar quality, but one proudly displays its sustainability credentials while the other stays silent. Which one are you more likely to choose? Especially if you care about the environment.
Good point. Sustainability is becoming a key differentiator in a lot of markets, and Cello World seems to be recognizing that.
Exactly. It's not just about being a good corporate citizen, it's also about appealing to that growing group of consumers who are willing to pay a bit more for products that align with their values.
So it's good for business and good for the planet. Win-win. But there's another piece of the puzzle we haven't talked about yet. Corporate governance.
Ah, yes. Often overlooked, but so important for a company's long-term health. It's all about transparency, accountability, ethical behavior, making sure the company is run in a way that benefits everyone, not just the shareholders. employees, customers, suppliers, the community.
So how does Cello World measure up in the corporate governance department?
Well, based on the materials you provided, there are some encouraging signs. Their board of directors has a good mix of experienced industry professionals and independent directors. That helps ensure diverse perspectives and prevents any one person or group from having too much power.
Checks and balances.
Exactly. They also have a dedicated committee for corporate social responsibility, which aligns with their focus on sustainability, shows they're thinking about their impact on the world in a holistic way, not just focused on profits.
So they're doing a lot of things right when it comes to corporate governance. But like you said, it's an ongoing process, not a one-time thing. They'll need to keep this up as they grow.
Absolutely. And with these new ventures like the glassware facility, it becomes even more important. Ethical sourcing, fair labor practices, responsible waste management, all of that is crucial for their long-term success.
Well, it's not just about building a bigger company, it's about building a better company.
I like that. Now I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier, the competitive landscape. I think it's worth taking a closer look at who Cello World is up against.
Okay, let's do it. Who are the major players they need to keep an eye on?
Well, in the consumerware segment, they're competing with some big names. Milton, Tupperware, Hawkins. Each of them brings something different to the table. Milton's known for being affordable and durable, Tupperware for its quality and innovative designs, and Hawkins for its dominance in the pressure cooker market.
Wow, that's some tough competition. So how is Cello World setting themselves apart in such a crowded space?
It's a combination of strategies. First, they have a diverse product portfolio that caters to a wide range of needs and price points. Their Cello brand targets the mass market with value-for-money products, while their Unomax brand aims for a more premium segment with higher quality and design-focused offerings.
So they're covering all their bases.
Exactly. And second, they're leveraging their strong distribution network. They've built this up over years of operating in the Indian market. They have a really wide reach extending even into smaller towns and villages. Gives them an edge over some of those newer companies.
But it's not just about the domestic brands, right? They also have to worry about international companies trying to break into the Indian market.
Oh, absolutely. Big players like IKEA, H&M, Zara are expanding rapidly in India. They've got global brand recognition and those sophisticated supply chains.
That's got to be intimidating for any Indian company.
It is. But Cello World has some advantages too.
Yeah.
They have a deep understanding of the Indian consumer, what they like, what they buy. They've been operating here for years. They know how to tailor their products and their marketing to really connect with Indian sensibilities.
It's like a classic David and Goliath story. Both sides have their strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. And that's what makes this market so exciting to watch.
You know, something that's been on my mind is the impact of e-commerce. It's really changing how retail works in India. And Cello World needs to adapt to stay competitive, right?
You're absolutely right. E-commerce is a game changer, and Cello World knows it. They're taking steps to boost their online presence, enhancing their own e-commerce platforms, partnering with those big online retailers.
So they're not just trying to fight against the current, they're learning to ride the wave.
Exactly. They're investing in digital marketing and advertising to reach more people online. They're even looking into using artificial intelligence to personalize the customer experience.
Personalization is key online. It's about making the customer feel like an individual, not just another number.
Absolutely. And Cello World seems to be embracing that shift. They're recognizing that e-commerce is not just about selling products. It's about building relationships with customers, creating a seamless experience, and fostering brand loyalty.
So they're taking a holistic approach to digital transformation, essential for any company that wants to succeed in today's world.
For sure. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Financial performance, competitive pressures, sustainability, corporate governance, the impact of e-commerce.
It's been a fascinating look at Cello World, but there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to examine: their strategic roadmap for the future.
Yeah, the big picture plan. Let's dive into that and see what Cello World has in store for the years to come.
All right, so we've seen how Cello World is doing financially. We've looked at their strategy and the competition they're facing. But what about their vision for the future? What's their plan for growth over the next few years?
Well, the investor presentation lays out a pretty clear roadmap. And one of their key priorities is something you might not expect from a company known for everyday products. They're aiming to expand their presence in the premium segment of the market.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I mean, Cello and Unomax are great for affordability, but are they really ready to compete with the big players in the luxury space?
They're definitely making moves in that direction. Think about it. India's middle class is growing rapidly, And with that comes more disposable income. People are looking for higher quality, more stylish, more durable products, even if it means spending a bit more.
So Cello World is trying to capture a piece of that growing market. They want to become the go-to brand for consumers who are ready to trade up.
Exactly. And they're not starting from scratch. Their Unimax's brand is already gaining some traction in the premium writing instruments segment. They're going head-to-head with international brands that have dominated that space for years.
And their new glassware facility could be a big part of this premium push too, right? I mean, they're not just making basic glasses. They're aiming for high-end glassware that can compete with the best in the world.
Got it. Imagine beautifully crafted wine glasses, elegant serving bowls, crystal clear decanters, the kind of glassware you'd find in those fancy homes and restaurants. That's where they're headed.
It's a bold move for sure, but it makes sense strategically. If they can successfully position themselves as a premium brand, they can charge higher prices, increase their profit margins, and attract a whole new group of customers.
Exactly. And it all goes back to their financial strength. They've got the resources to invest in top-notch design, high-quality materials, innovative manufacturing techniques. They're not just trying to copy what others are doing. They're aiming to innovate and set new standards in the Indian glassware market.
So it's not just about expanding, it's about elevating their brand. But premium glassware is just one part of the story. They're also looking to grow their market share in their existing categories, right?
Absolutely. Their roadmap includes plans to ramp up production of their core products: kitchenware, houseware, insulated ware. And they're not just sticking with the same old designs either. They're constantly innovating, introducing new features, new materials, new styles to keep their product lines fresh and exciting.
It's like they're saying, we're not going to rest on our laurels. We're going to keep pushing, keep innovating, keep giving our customers something new and better.
Right. And that's a crucial mindset in a market as dynamic as India's. Consumers have so many choices these days. They're constantly bombarded with new products and marketing messages. Cello World needs to stay ahead of the game, anticipate what customers want, and deliver it before their competitors do.
So they're playing both offense and defense, expanding into new territory while also strengthening their position in existing markets.
Yeah, it's a multi-pronged approach to growth, and it's backed by serious investment. We talked about the new glassware facility. But they're also pouring resources into upgrading their existing manufacturing plants, adopting new technologies, and streamlining their operations.
It sounds like they're really pushing for automation and efficiency.
They are. They're investing in state-of-the-art machinery, robotics, data analytics, all to optimize their production processes. This allows them to produce goods faster, cheaper, and with higher quality.
Which ultimately benefits both the company and the consumer. Lower production costs can lead to lower prices, higher profit margins, or a combination of both.
Exactly. And it's not just about physical infrastructure. They're also investing heavily in technology and digital initiatives. They're really recognizing how important e-commerce and digital marketing are these days.
Yeah, we talked about their e-commerce strategy earlier, but are they doing anything else in the digital space?
Oh, they're going all in. They're building these sophisticated data analytics platforms to gather information on consumer behavior preferences and trends. They're using artificial intelligence to personalize marketing messages and product recommendations, so customers are seeing what's most relevant to them.
So they're not just throwing money at digital, they're being strategic about it, using data to make smarter decisions, target their marketing more effectively, and create a more seamless customer experience.
Right. And it's all part of a larger vision: to become a truly customer-centric organization, one that anticipates and responds to customer needs in real time. They're realizing that in today's world, it's not enough to just make good products. You need to build those strong relationships with your customers, understand their needs, and exceed their expectations.
So it's a really comprehensive approach to growth. Strategic investments, innovative products, a focus on efficiency, a commitment to sustainability, and a customer-centric mindset. It sounds like Cello World is doing everything right.
They are. They've set out an ambitious plan, and they seem to have the resources, the talent, and the drive to make it happen.
But as we've discussed, there are challenges ahead. Competition is tough, the global economy is unpredictable, and consumer preferences are always changing. Can they really pull it off?
That's the big question. Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure: Cello World is at a crucial point in its journey. They're making bold moves, taking risks, and betting on their ability to adapt and succeed in a rapidly changing world.
So for you, dear listener, the takeaway here is this. Cello World is a company to watch. Whether you're a potential investor, a competitor, or just someone interested in the Indian business world, their story is full of valuable lessons.
It really highlights how important it is to think strategically, to anticipate those market trends, to embrace innovation, and to build a solid foundation based on financial stability, operational excellence, and a real commitment to sustainability.
It's a good reminder that success isn't a finish line, it's a journey. And even for well-established companies, the need to adapt, evolve, and reinvent themselves is constant.
As we wrap up this deep dive, we want to encourage you to keep exploring, stay curious, and never stop learning.
Because in a world that's changing faster than ever, the ability to adapt and embrace new knowledge is key, whether it's in business, your personal life, or anything else you choose to pursue. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.